plans to restore damages caused in Timbuktu by Islamists. The destructions are estimated at around 4 to 5 million euros. As we hear in the CFI report, President François Hollande of France has also promised to help in the restoration process.
The announcement was made to the press by the Director General of UNESCO in person. UNESCO will soon make an assessment of all the damage caused in Timbuktu by the Islamists. UNESCO estimates that between 4 and 5 million euros will be needed to repair and rebuild the mausoleum alone.
We have to make an evaluation of the damage. We are ready to send a mission of experts the first moment when the security allows.
Most of the sacred tombs are in fact situated in the homes of big families who kept them well concealed and preserved during the 10 months of extremist occupation here. The same 30 or so families hold the majority of the 300,000 manuscripts in Timbuktu. This is an incredible treasure that dates back to the 15th and 16th centuries. The local authorities in Timbuktu believe that 2,000 to 3,000 manuscripts were destroyed in the fire that the Islamists started before they fled the town.
We have collected all the necessary information we have, the plans, the photos. We have to restore them. It's extremely important message for the local people, for Mali and for the world.
The UNESCO Director General accompanied French President François Hollande during his visit to Mali last week. Hollande pledged French aid to the effort to rehabilitate these manuscripts. All the instruments that were being used to digitalize the precious documents will have to be replaced.
Mali has seen its first suicide attack Friday when a bomber wearing a paramilitary uniform set an explosive at an army checkpoint in Gao. And the trial of former Chadian President Hassan Habré began today in the Senegalese capital, Dakar. For more on these and other stories, we turn to this African News Roundup from CFI.
Mali has seen its first suicide attack. Friday morning, a suicide bomber wearing a paramilitary police uniform set off an explosives belt at an army checkpoint in Gao in the north, injuring a Malian soldier. According to witnesses, the suicide bomber was a Tuareg. An Al-Qaeda offshoot called Mujao claimed responsibility. A special African court set up to try the former president of Chad, Hissène Habré, officially began work today in Dakar. No date has been set yet for the trial proper. It has been 7 years since the African Union mandated Senegal under Abdoulaye Wade to try the former dictator who has lived in Senegal for over 20 years. It was only when Macky Sall took office in 2012 that the procedure got underway. Chadian victims have waited for this moment since 1990.
After 22 years of tenacity and perseverance, Hissène Habré's victims will finally get their day in court.
Hissène Habré, who's lived in Dakar since 1990, is accused of war crimes, crimes against humanity and torture. 40,000 people were reported killed during Hissène Habré's dictatorship. In Zambia, a high-speed collision between a bus and a truck killed 53 people. The Zambia Postal Service bus had been taking passengers from the Copperbelt mining province to Lusaka. According to initial investigations, all the vehicles involved were speeding. 1,200 people are killed on the roads every year in Zambia out of a population of 13 million. "70 people have died in floods in Mozambique in the Limpopo River Valley. 180,000 people were forced to leave their homes to take refuge on higher ground. The north of Mozambique is also badly hit by flooding. Thanks to a decade-long effort to lessen the impact of natural disasters, most people have survived these floods, which are the worst in 10 years.
Now, thousands of Tunisians stormed the streets of the capital to mark the funeral of Chokri Belaid, a prominent opposition figure assassinated on Wednesday. The strike was the first of its kind in 35 years, as the ruling Islamist party is accused of killing the main opposition leader. Details in the CFI report.
Thousands of Tunisians attended the funeral of Chokri Belayid, the opposition leader assassinated on Wednesday. The country's opposition and largest union called a general strike on Friday in homage to Mr. Belayid, a fierce opponent of the ruling Islamist party. The general strike was the first in 35 years. Most shops and offices were closed. Protesters accused the government of being behind the killing and of having betrayed the ideals of the Arab Spring. Demonstrations were held in cities across the country. Crowds chanted slogans accusing the government of the assassination. Security forces were deployed throughout the country to prevent a repeat of the unrest that has shaken the country since Wednesday.
I think the assassination was planned in order to destabilize the country and plunge it into chaos.
Unions called for peaceful demonstrations. Despite the appeal, sporadic clashes were reported. The assassination of Mr. Belayid has widened the political fault line between the country's secular and Islamist factions.
We have had enough. There is no democracy, no economy, nothing at all.
The ruling Islamist party, Ennahda, has rejected the plan announced by the Prime Minister to form a non-partisan government of technocrats. The Prime Minister said he would dissolve the present government and call new elections.
Let's now take a quick look at the weather report, courtesy of the Central Forecast Office.
The source assures us of a continuous flow, and from there, everything follows. And for those of us who know what the River Gambia stands for, understanding its sustainability in all aspects of life is easily confirmed. The River Gambia provides nutritious delicacies as food, while it provides its wildlife a balanced ecosystem. This river, as a sanctuary, is committed to its inhabitants' needs without season. And as you travel along, all these values are replicated in one company, Elton. Just like the River Gambia, leads in its commitment to values that matter most. Elton, championing the vision for a new generation.
Hello there, wonderful viewers. Welcome to the weather segment. We begin with the summary. We experience a warm and slightly hazy condition across the country. And we now take a look at the satellite picture, indicating the presence of medium clouds over the Sahel and Gulf of Guinea states. Convective clouds are also seen over the central and the southern part of the continent. For the forecast tonight, we'll be expecting a relatively cool, partly to variably cloudy conditions to prevail with slight hazy atmosphere over the entire country onwards morning, whilst the day tomorrow, we'll be expecting a cool, partly cloudy and becoming warm, particularly in the afternoon. Winds will be mainly northeasterlies in orientation, but generally light to moderate in speed, which will be about 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. Morning temperatures will vary between 16 to 19 degrees Celsius, whilst afternoon temperatures will vary between 31 to 37 degrees Celsius. For those going to sea, we'll be expecting a low tide of 0.32 meters at 2:56 a.m. and also 0.15 meters at 3:05 p.m. For the high tide, we'll be expecting 1.64 meters at 9:19 a.m. and also 1.91 meters at 9:44 p.m. For the wave heights, they will vary between 1 to 2 meters high, slight to moderate northerly swells. The sun will rise at 7:31 and will set at 19:09. Thanks for watching and do have a wonderful weekend.
Well, thank you very much, Hadi. And before we go, reminder of our headlines. The Gambia has tabled a bid for the hosting of the 14th Summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, as President Jammeh also drew the attention of OIC leaders to the plight of the Muslim Ummah. The people of the West Coast settlement of Pejeb have celebrated the commissioning of a skills acquisition center thanks to a Netherlands-based NGO called help the Gambia to learn. Mali has witnessed its first suicide attack when a bomber disguised as a paramilitary officer detonated an explosive at an army checkpoint in Gao, and thousands of Tunisians have stormed the streets of the capital Tunis to mark the funeral of a leading opposition figure recently assassinated in the North African country.